Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ninja Chickens channel. This is my little show about lots of things yarny and natural dyeing and a little bit about homesteading and homeschooling. Welcome. I'm glad you're joining me here. It's always nice to know there's a little someone out there watching. I appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram as ninja.chickens. You can find me on Ravelry as Ninja Chickens. And ninjachickens.org for show notes and on the Ravelry groups page also. So it's been a super busy couple of weeks, but I don't have, well, I guess I do have some things to show for it. I've been doing a lot of eco printing. I'm stocking some things up. I'm going to have a few small releases over the next month and a half, but there's something coming up that is a fun surprise that I can't tell you about yet. So that'll be happening towards the end of September, and then I'll have a lot more things in the shop, and I'll show you those in just a little bit. It's Saturday morning, and it's really beautiful out here. The sky is bright blue, and things are, well, you probably can't see how crazy it is behind me. Because you're just looking at the one section of mowed lawn. Everything else is gone nuts. August and into September. It just feels like the forest is kind of coming in on you because so many things are getting big and wild and crazy. But we're actually, there's the fire pit behind me. We're going to be having a big bonfire for Toby, my husband's birthday, next weekend. So we're gathering fallen wood and clearing out brush and stuff like that so that we can have lots of people over. We usually do that. His birthday falls usually a couple of days before or after, usually a little before the fall equinox. So we always have a welcoming in the fall party and a bonfire for his birthday. So anyway, knitting. I have two things that you haven't seen yet from start at all. The first are my Mibboden mitts, which these are the mitts that I told you about that were published by Skandir Knits, Ellie of Skandir Knits. She has put out a 4-pattern club. So this was the pattern that came out this month. Came out at the beginning of the month. They're called Mibboden, and they are colorwork mittens in DK weight. So if this is your first time doing color work, it's a really nice mitten. It's a very well written pattern. I test knit the pattern for Ellie, and I didn't have any problems with it. I mean, I know I've done color work before, but I felt like it was very straightforward. It was easy to figure out what went where. If you've never knit mittens before, you may not want to start with these, just because, you know, it's adding an extra layer to the complexity if you've never even done mittens before. But if you've done mittens and you're ready to try your hand at color work, I thought these were really nice. And because they're DK weight, it makes them go pretty fast. So these are her first pattern in the Selbu Mitten Club. The first thing you get actually when you if you sign up for the club is her Selbu mittens that she released a while ago. So it's kind of the free pattern added to the group. And then you'll get a pattern September, October, November, December. So for the next 4 months, at the beginning of the month, you get a new pattern. And you won't know what it looks like. It's kind of a mystery knit. But each one, she was saying, is going to get a little bit, is going to build a little bit on the next one. So this is the easiest pattern to start with, and then you can work up. But they're fast and really nice gift knits. So these are going to actually go to one of my neighbors. We have two friends, a couple that are living in one of our cabins, and they've been there, I guess, 2.5 years. And I don't think I've ever knit them anything. So this year I really wanted to make something for them. So she is going to get these. And then he will be getting the next thing I knit, which you didn't even see me cast this one on. This is the Boosta Beanie by Gudrun Johnson. And I love this one. So this is the free pattern for Shetland Wool Week. Every year, Shetland Wool Week releases a free pattern. And in build up to the big festival. And some of you guys probably know, I think one of the more famous ones, which was the bobble hat, which had little sheep all around it, and a lot of people knit this one. Well, this one really took off too. It's a really sweet colorwork pattern. Another one that's really nice for people who maybe have never delved into colorwork before, because it's really simple repeats, but easy enough to do that you don't struggle with it. It's pretty simple and easy to remember. So I knit this one up for the other member of the couple of our neighbors. So he will get this and she'll get the mitts, and I think they'll both really like them. But this, let's see, I knit it just as it called for, cast on the number it called for, but I actually took out one full repeat because it looked like some people were saying they ended up being a little large, and I knew he wasn't going to want something that was really slouchy. So I made it more into a beanie. And I like it. I think it turned out really nicely. The only trouble I had was with the yarn. And the yarn, it's beautiful and it feels great, and it's a really nice yarn, but it was hard to work colorwork with it because it was very sticky. Sticky in that there's so many little, I don't know if you can even see it. No, it's not going to focus for you. There's all these little bitty hairs, because it's a rustic yarn, that it was, when I was trying to work colorwork, I hold my colors in one hand. So I wrap one on one finger, one on a third finger, and then I work back and forth. And they kept pulling on each other, and it was really frustrating because they wouldn't slide past each other. They'd grab and pull. So this is the yarn from Bovidae Farms, which is gorgeous yarn. It comes in really big cakes, so there's lots to work with. This is what I have left over. And it says sport weight, but I think it's a little bit closer to a fingering weight, because you've got about 420 yards in 4 ounces. And then the other one that I used is one that I got from Melody of Bee Mandarines, which is a Latvian wool. And it's very similar in weight. And it's a rustic yarn, but it wasn't pulling the same way that these two were. But if I put them together, this one would pull on this one. So I knit it up probably in just 2 or 3 days, but I think next time I'll check on the wool, because I'd like to do it again, and I'll check on the yarn and make sure that it's not going to pull so hard on it or tangle up. It's almost like this would felt really, really well. It wanted to felt just in knitting it. But I think the hat turned out beautifully. I like the colors. Really fun knit. And that was the Booster Beanie by Gudrun Johnson. So I have 2 finished objects, none that you have seen before in my works in progress. So that's kind of fun. And then I also have 2 works in progress that I've been working on a lot over the last couple of weeks. The first one is the Lucky Me Socks by Pia Camaborn. These are the ones that I'm knitting for my stepfather for the holidays, and I've done pretty good progress. I have turned the heel and started working up the leg on both of them. And he has a size 11.5 foot, so it looks very long. The sun is coming through the trees now. I was trying to sit in an area where it wouldn't be a problem because it was so bright last time, but that's the way it is with the sunshine. So yes, I'm working these in Magpie Fibers Swanky Sock, and I like it. It's a nice, it feels like it's going to be a sturdy yarn for these. And I'll, maybe go this much more and then start adding in the little shamrock details. I casted on 24 stitches and worked up to 72 for those. And I'm trying really hard to pull nice and snug on my purl stitches, because I usually do those really loosely, and then it makes the whole thing out of gauge. So the Lucky Me Socks is my first work in progress that I've been working on a bunch, and my second one that I have to show you, I've been working on a lot, because after last think in the last podcast I was talking about how quickly it was finally starting to move for me. And so I was like, I have to just push through and get past this part because I'm so excited about working the main part of the modern die hap. So I finally was able to memorize the lace. It's not a hard pattern to memorize. I think I was doing it just little enough that I couldn't get the pattern memorized. And when I really started working on it more religiously, I was able to memorize it, and then things really went fast. So I, this morning, just finished the whole outside lace, counted and made sure. You can't even see how huge it is with this right here. I pulled it out when I was done. I stretched it out in the house, and it probably stretched out to about 30 feet. Not stretched, even I just laid it out. If I had stretched it, it would have gone 50 feet. So I laid it out probably about 30 feet and made sure I had as many repeats as I needed, and then marked off 4 sections because I'm going to, well, I have attached the ends. I Kitchener stitched the ends together. So now it's in a circle, and I've picked up 570 some stitches, I think. And now I'll be knitting it inward. So I marked the corners so that I know kind of where my sides are going to be. So this right here is now on a 60-inch needle, and there are, I think, 576 stitches on here. And that is what the outer lace is going to look like. This is some alpaca, some fern fibers alpaca dyed in madder, and the rest of it is going to be different shades of neutrals, grays, blacks, cream colors. So I think it's going to be really beautiful. And I can't wait to get started on the inside because that's going to hopefully really fly. I would really love to have this to wrap up in this winter, so we'll see. So that is that. And speaking of fern fiber, I think I announced it 2 episodes ago that Fern Fiber was closing, and it completely sold out. We don't have a single skein of yarn left in the store, so thank you all so much. It just really touched us that it would sell out. We had already planned on what days we would need to continue to decrease so that we could get rid of all the stock and decrease the price, and it just sold out as soon as we announced it. And we are so glad that you guys like the yarn, and we still love seeing what you've created with them. So please tag us, Fern Fiber, tag the yarn on Instagram, or let us know if you've made something, because we'd really like to see what you create with it. Before I get into the dyeing that I've been doing, I wanted to announce the winner of, see if I can get out of the light, of the giveaway that we had last time. So we did a giveaway for a beautiful project bag from Charity of Blue Ridge Knits, along with a little lotion bar that she sent, as well as the Sand Bloom shawl from Chanel Wu of Piperell Knits. And let me pull up real quickly the responses, because I want. So I looked at all your entries, and I love reading the things you have to add. I asked to tell me about something fun you guys would be doing this fall, and there was lots of lovely entries. If you haven't gone to read some of those, you should check them out because they're always fun. The winner of the Sandbloom shawl was, and I did this all through random.org, number 15, which is Minerva's Bliss. So I will let Chanel know that you've won that, and she'll send that on to you. And thank you so much. That response was, this fall, the most fun is going to be all the knitting for myself and my son, doing yarn dyeing and just being creative. That sounds perfect. And then the next entry, let me pull that one up for you, was the winner for the Blue Ridge Knits project bag and the little lotion bar, and that was entry number 29, who is Angela8626, who said, driving through the mountains to enjoy the beautiful fall foliage. What mountains do you live in? I assume your name is Angela, because we always have lots of people coming out here to drive through the mountains for the fall leaves, and it's just such a beautiful time of year. That's when the SAF festival is, the Southern Appalachian Southeast Animal and Fiber Festival is always around the last weekend in October. So if any of you guys live near enough to make a trip out for that, you should, because it's usually beautiful out here in the mountains and it's a really nice festival. So, Angela, I will contact you about that. Or if you see this before I contact you, then let me know. And yay, I'm excited for all of you who have won. Hopefully we can do something like that again soon, because they're always fun. Sorry, I'm just trying to get back on the screen so I can see what's going on. So the other thing that's been going on that I've been doing related to fiber is a lot of botanical printing, like I said in the beginning. I even hired my daughter, who I think she's interested in stuff like this, but she doesn't really want to say she's interested in stuff like this. So often she'd just rather do stuff in her room, reading, or be on her computer when I'm botanical printing. But I told her this time I could really use some help because I needed to get a bunch of it done. So I hired her for the day, and she loved it. She had a lot of fun. She made some really pretty things. She knows the whole routine of how to do it, but I wanted to show you a couple of things that she made, and then a couple of the others that are my favorites. And then there will be a bunch up, hopefully by the end of this coming week. I guess that would be the 14th or 15th. Hopefully I will have some in the store by then. And then I'll continue doing some smaller releases throughout the next month or two. I want to try and make it so that everybody has an opportunity if they want to get some. When I do one big release, and that's it for a month or two, then you have to be off work or able to get to the computer or awake if you're on the other side of the planet. So I wanted to stagger it out a little bit so everybody had an opportunity, and I hope that helps. So this is one that Kaya did. She dunked part of it in madder root and then part of it in logwood, and then she put rose leaves on it. Isn't that beautiful? So these are going to be fun striping socks. So there's one. And let's see, this is another one that she did. She wanted something that was a little bit more delicate for someone who didn't want too much color in their socks, but still wanted to be able to play with the sock blank. And this one has eucalyptus, goldenrod, hibiscus, dahlia, and verbena. Ooh. Isn't that pretty? Let's see if I can get it to a spot where it's not so bright. So actually, I didn't tell you about this. I have a new sock blank supplier. There are not a lot in the United States or Canada. In fact, I think there's 3, maybe 4. And the supplier that I was using before, they're great sock blanks. I still love them. But one of the big things is that these that I found from a company in Canada are slightly heftier yarn. I don't know if you saw them just run by in the background. They're such crazies. The other yarn that I was using was 463 yards in 100 grams. And this is 420 yards and 115 grams. So it's slightly heftier. And it's also knit on the knitting machine at a tighter gauge. So the print comes out a little more crisp. And I'll show you what I mean. This is one that I did. That's one of my favorites. And this is on one of the new sock blanks. And you may not be able to tell on the computer, but I can when I'm feeling it, that it just feels heftier. It feels more solid, I guess, as a blank. And for doing prints, that makes it a lot easier for me to get a crisp print. If I have something solid to print onto, the more the color can go through it, the more it can bleed to the background. And this is still one of my absolute favorites, but this is the other sock blanks. This one's a sparkle, but you'll see maybe that they're just knit a little more loosely. The print is still beautiful, but I really like the feel of the new ones that I got. So I will be doing the new sock blanks in this next release. There are still some of the other ones out there, and like I said, they're great. I just like the way this print comes out on these. So the difference is there's slightly less yardage, heavier weight, still considered a sock yarn, and it's 80% superwash wool and 20% nylon. And one of the things that I was worried about when I first saw it advertised is it says 80% wool, but what does that mean? And sometimes those, you know, when it just says wool, it could be super scratchy, but it's really soft. I mean, it's just as soft. It feels just as soft as the merino to me. The other sock blanks were 75% merino and 25% nylon. So these are 80% wool and 20% nylon. Both are superwash. I'm still trying to find a source that will make non-superwash sock blanks for me. And because I know that some of you just like to throw them in the wash, but in the washing machine. But most people hand wash their socks anyway if they've been hand knit. And it would be nice with doing the plant printing on them and using natural dyes to also not have the chemicals that have been used for superwash, to make them superwash. Most of you probably know, because a lot of other podcasters and people have mentioned it, but to create a superwash yarn, there's generally two, what is the word I'm looking for? Oh my goodness, there's a cat way up in a tree. Do you see him? Look at him. What a nut. How did he even get up there? That's my crazy cat. When he's in the house too long, he jumps up and climbs on the highest parts of our house everywhere, in places he definitely shouldn't be, way up on cabinets and stuff. He's such a nut. Anyway, there are two standard methods. I know that there are some others that are more environmentally friendly that have come out, which is great, but the two most commonly used methods are to use a chemical to strip the scales off the hair, which is what makes them felt. Just like if you look at your own hair under a microscope, you'll see that it has little bitty scales. And the chemical method, one of them is to strip all the scales off so that the yarn won't catch and felt, and that's one of the reasons why it feels so much more smooth. And the other method is to coat them with the chemical so that it coats down the hairs so that they don't catch. That method can be washed off after a while. So if you do have socks, any socks that are done with a superwash that has been coated, and you continue to throw them in the washer, at some point it will wash off some of that and they may start to felt. So anyway, I would love to find a supplier that doesn't do superwash yarn, because I think that would just kind of bring the whole thing full circle. Using a nice yarn that doesn't have chemicals with natural dyes would feel really nice. But until then, I'm going to be using this. Wow, he's down already. I'm going to have to rewatch this so I can see how he did that. Anyway, this one is one of my favorites. This one has oak, maple, black walnut, marigold, and butterfly pea flower. Look at that. This is my favorite spot right here. Look at those reds. So pretty. I am probably gonna pick one and Kitchener stitch the end, and then pick up stitches along the edge, and maybe do like a seed stitch or something on both sides and make a cowl out of it. I think that would be really nice. People always think of sock blanks just for socks, but you can use them for anything you use fingering weight yarn for. You can make a top out of it. You can make a shawl out of it. And a lot of people say that they don't want to use these because they're really pretty. So you can just, make something out of this as it is. Although part of this for me is that I know I can make more. I know that there's always leaves around that I can print something with. And so it's kind of like a release of attachment to be able to knit something from this and see what else it can create and let go of that need to have to keep it the way it is. That might sound weird, but that's how it feels to me when I knit from one of them. So I have lots and lots of those to put up in the shop for you, and I've just ordered more blanks so I can make some more before all of this foliage goes down for the winter. I've got some in the freezer, I've got some dried, but this is like prime time for doing some really nice printing. And that might be it. It was kind of a quick little episode. I do have one thing to share with you. I wasn't sure if I was going to or not, but I will, just because I like it. I got a tattoo. This is my third tattoo. Most people don't know that I have tattoos because they're hidden. This is the first tattoo I've ever gotten that can be seen, just out in public. My other one is on a large one on my back, and another one above my right hip. So they've been hidden. The first one I got when I was 18. It was a big decision, of course, and I wanted something that felt like I was keeping my childhood as I left to go to college. And so I was finishing up high school, and a friend of mine really wanted to get a tattoo. She was an exchange student. So she said she would go with me, and I got a tattoo of something from my childhood. When I was a kid, I used to have my walls covered with pictures of unicorns. I was really into mermaids too. This is when I was much younger, like 7, 8. But I had many pictures, probably like 20 pictures of like beautiful drawings and artwork of unicorns in my room. So I decided to get a small unicorn tattoo, and she ended up getting one that was up here into her neck, so it was much more obvious. So when she went back to, I didn't tell anyone. She was the only person that knew that I was going to get one. I didn't even tell my mom until afterwards. And she was the only person I knew. So the next day at school, of course, she started talking all about it and what she did. And then she started telling people who she went with. And they were like, what? Because I was voted most studious. I was a total, I liked school. I did a lot of clubs and stuff like that. So I think people were kind of surprised that I did that. Nobody else had a tattoo at that point. I mean, it's a big deal. Like, people get them all the time now, but back then nobody had tattoos. So people kept, like, people I didn't even know coming up, what, you got a tattoo? Oh my God, I can't believe it. But I didn't show anyone. It was, not where I didn't want to pull my pants down in the middle of school. And I didn't want to show anyone too. It was personal. So, and then I got another one when I think I just turned 30 or 31. And it was, again, another kind of time of transition where I felt like I needed to, I don't know, it was kind of a way of processing, I guess, transition and things that were going on in my life. And that's a pretty large one on my back. And then I have been trying to figure out this tattoo probably for the last 6 years. So I'll show it to you. Let's see. It's on my arm. It starts with a little bee and an echinacea that has a yarn ball inside. And then it goes, if I can turn my arm that way, to a word that says smudge. And I'll tell you about that. And then this other side looks like this. And there's a little caterpillar. So all of it has a lot of meaning. Of course, the echinacea is part of, my love for plants that I've had my whole life, and the herbs that I work with. The yarn ball speaks for itself. It spells out the word smudge right there. Smudge is a word that Leaf kind of made up when he was, there is the word smudge, but one night when he was about 2.5 and I was putting him to bed, he said, "Mommy, smudge." And I was like, okay. He said, "Do you know what that means?" And I was like, "No." He said, "Smudge means I love you, Mom. From now on, we'll say smudge." So for the last 6 years, that's what we've been doing. We say smudge, smudge you too, which it just is a silly little thing, but it is so sweet. And when I hear him say it and remember, it sounds even more special than I love you. So I wanted that on there. The little bees, he drew for me when he was 4. And they just make me laugh so hard. It's so hard to turn my arm the way I want to turn it so you can see it. But they're just the silliest little bees. And I laughed so hard. We were driving up the driveway, I remember, and he drew them. And he's not one to just draw or write things. He just doesn't do a lot of that. So he passed them up to me in the car and he said, "Here you go, Mommy. I made you some bees." And I kept them, I laminated them, and I put them to the side, and I knew that one day they would be a part of a tattoo. And then the little caterpillar is a caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland, because Kaya loves Alice in Wonderland. She probably has 5 or 6 versions of it, 2 of them that are very old. And I wanted to have a little something for her in the tattoo also. And originally the tattoo artist, who's absolutely amazing, her name's BB June, and she's at a tattoo place called Thistle and Pearl if you're ever in Asheville and are looking for a place. Her work, she does a lot of nature work in her tattoos, and they're just very realistic. They're really beautiful. She's a true artist. But initially I had told her my idea for what I wanted to do for Kaya, and I said, I'm not sure what I want from Alice in Wonderland. I don't really want the bunny hopping through or Alice or something. She said, well, what about a caterpillar on a leaf? That works perfectly with the plant. And I said, oh, that would be great. So the initial drawing that she sent back had the little caterpillar with a hookah, smoking a hookah. And I thought, if this is supposed to be a representation of my little girl, then maybe we shouldn't have the drugs in there. So she's like, you're right. So we took the hookah out of it and just made it a caterpillar, which I think is perfect because she is totally in that metamorphosis phase where I feel like she's going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. And so it's a good time for that picture too. So it's pretty much healed. There's just one little spot where there's a little scab, but it looks really good. And people ask me, "Ow, did it hurt?" Yes. Yes, it hurts a lot. I mean, everybody has different pain tolerances. That's to start with, so that's going to affect it. But you're drawing on yourself with many needles. It's not just one at a time. It can be 6 or 8. To put the color in or do shading or things like that. And it does hurt. And after a little while, your body kicks in its endorphins and it doesn't hurt as much. But there are some areas that are going to hurt more than others. I won't tell you it doesn't hurt. But I guess, some people just want one tattoo. Some people get many, many of them. I seem to go every 12 to 13 years and get a new one, it feels like. But again, I don't know. They're all really special to me, and I don't regret any of them, even though the unicorn now looks like a Clydesdale because of 2 pregnancies and big babies. But I'm not doing anything with it. One person, a tattoo artist, told me once, oh, I could touch that up for you, and I was like, no, that shows the marks of pregnancy. I don't want it changed right now. Anyway, I wasn't planning on doing such a big side there on tattoos, but that's what I have knitting wise for you, eco printing, and everything else. I think that's it for this episode. Sorry for the tangent, but hopefully you don't mind seeing the tattoos. I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. These next few weeks are going to be really nice for us. We're going to a barbecue today, and I'm going to hopefully get some nice photography. Nikki said she'd be my model for the Claire poncho that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks. And so I'll hopefully get some good pictures out on her mountain. And next weekend, we're having a bonfire. A couple weeks after that, we're going to go canoeing. So we're trying to get some nice outdoor things in before the cold weather hits. Hopefully all of you are doing well and staying safe. I know there are a lot of big weather events going on right now around the world. So I'm hoping all of you are staying safe and healthy and happy, and I will talk to you again in a couple of weeks. All right. Bye-bye.
Hush, little darling, don't say a word. Papa's in the bayou, a mockingbird. Say, darling, say, if that mockingbird won't sing, Papa's in the bayou, a diamond ring. Say, darling, say. tree. Two little babies just sitting on my knee. Say, darling.